Alrighty. I should probably set up a little bit better. Hello, and welcome back to some game development. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. Everyone having a good weekend. Hey, Sweep, how's it going? So, what the hell do I have to explain? So, when did we leave off on the development side? I think the last stuff we were working on was getting Neuro's movement working. And I think I'd said that I needed to start setting up the shield. If I recall correctly. Hey, Devil also got... Look, a toasted sandwich in a pan is is more than acceptable. That's fine. It's like the idea of doing like slices of toast. That's what's criminal to me. Slacked off the whole weekend, was very tired. I'm not gonna lie, I woke up this morning and it was really hard to get up. It was incredibly difficult to like get through just the sheer desire to go straight back to sleep. But the problem was, I knew if I went back to sleep, the stream ain't happening. Because I woke up at like 5. And so it's like 2 hours. I'm not gonna wake up properly in between then. So I got up and did some work on some other stuff and then set up. So, what has happened since last? Good lord, do I have a lot that I need to explain, huh? So we've introduced a system for shields to the game. Some of which can be seen here. As you can see, there's a new shield constructor and stuff like that. This is the item for Neuro, which is a constantly regenerating shield. This is, I don't want to say it's a complex system, but I will also not deny that, like, so this is the shield script stuff. Some of this gets a little intense. But it should work perfectly fine. I did some mild cleanup and set up systems to be edited easily. For example, here, this is related to the note that I posted over on the Discord as a joke, because I can't get over how funny it is to me. But basically, when Neuro is caring about this, Neuro will basically look to see if the health is low, and instead try and evade enemies. It's funny to me too. I don't know. It's one of those notes that you write and it's like, this is actually the most accurate way to write this. And it's just mildly entertaining. Check if health is low and if Neuro is smart enough to notice. Great. I also set up a very loose beginnings for her second ability, which is the dodge chance thing. If you see here, basically what we're doing is we're pushing through a new type of trigger, which is damage being taken instead of damage taken. So this is the act of the damage being applied to the character. And it will basically check, hey, random chance, what is your chance? If successful, the damage is going to be returned to 0, otherwise the damage is going to be returned the same and nothing happens. that should work out nicely. I also changed the idea of what I want to do with her weapon. Just because, like, I went through a lot of different things were going on, and I thought her weapon felt not quite what you'd want out of a character to function like this. It seemed like a solid weapon, but it just felt bad on this specific character. So it's one of those things where, like, thematically speaking, it was great. Mechanically speaking, it didn't feel right. Which is one of the hardest things in this game to develop around, is trying to find that happy medium where one might be higher than the other in terms of, like, functional mechanic versus cosmetic. But this time it was just too much of a gap, so I scrapped what we had of an idea, and I've started writing this one up. It's still called Heart for now, but I might change that. We'll see. Basically now it will summon a temporary swarm of drones to attack around. It felt more funny to me, just the idea that you're going around watching Nero just, like, shoot stuff with the swarm. It also fit the fact that the what's it called? The splash art of the character is kind of, like, indicating an explosion, so. But I should probably show, kind of, like, roughly speaking, what's happened in Euro since we were played. So now, you can see very loosely, there's a weird change to the bar. Oh, hello. This is new. Yeah, I haven't finished doing that, have I? Right. Okay, I might have to come back to this. We'll see. But I do want to showcase, like, some of the tweaks to Neuro's just Neuro moving around that we've done. Something I feel very, very happy with is how it looks now. And how easy it is as well, that, like, if there are issues, I can actually change them quite easily. Oh, interesting. That's not intended. Here he is. But yeah, no, she actually does run around now, which is nice. So that just means I need to set up a system to handle telling it only to do this once. Okay, I can sort that out relatively easily. Alright. But yeah, what's been happening in the world of VTubing in the last few days? It's not just drama shite. Um... Hmm... Sorry, I'm just double checking if there's anything in my notes that I was to talk about. Huh. Apparently, apparently, Guardians of the Galaxy's song, like the songs in them, got swapped on Disney Plus because the license ran out. So they, like, live changed the audio. That's weird. I feel like if I get losing the license, but it's already a pre-done thing. I guess it's because it's on a live service model. That's strange. That's very strange. Oh, yeah. There's the Amazon AI dub thing that happened as well. Y'all heard about that? What about Amazon AI? So, the No Game No Life movie is on Amazon Prime, I think it is, or whatever. And the dub for it is done by AI. Like, legitimately, it's AI. It's like TikTok voice AI. Like, this is actually legitimate. On specifically their platform, though. Like, I actually really struggle to believe that was the case when people were saying it. But, like, no, I looked it up, yeah. It's specifically on, the Amazon platform. They've, like, destroyed it. See if I can find, like, a short moment as an example. Here we go. Let's just pause this for... We'll try and be quick about this, because I don't actually want to get flagged. But...
Buddy somehow has played a terrible joke on you. Overboost.
It's not actually got the visuals loading for some reason. I'll see if I can refresh it.
Think somebody somehow has played a terrible joke on you. Overboost.
So I'm not gonna show the visuals. You can hear though.
Littering, debris everywhere. I guess you don't care at all about the environment. However, no doubt, I can do something about that. You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, that's legitimately the fight between Jabril and I can't remember her name, but like basically the original Shiro. Like that's legitimately what it sounds like. Same link to it. Alright. Give me a second, I'll see if I can... No, that's not what I want to go to. Dude, I hate Twitter sometimes. My god. Is this site, like, poorly optimized? It's just gonna be easy to search, isn't it? Look for Amazon dub. Okay, to those that are curious, I'll post a... Oh, Sweeb's got it. Yeah, Sweeb found the exact one that I was about to post, so yeah. You can just use that. Like, if you think I was kidding, like, that's just legitimately from it. I can't get over that. That took me very far back. It's hilariously bad. Yeah, it's painful. It genuinely is painful to think that like this has got like approved. My genuine fear with it, by the way, is that enough people are gonna, like, not believe that it's the case and go watch it, to, like, see, and then because of that, they'll assume that, oh, well, we're getting a lot of views on these, so it's clearly successful. And it's gonna, give the wrong kind of feedback to them. That is a genuine fear I have on the matter. Because that happens. Yeah, no, like, it's all like that. I can't respect Amazon's choice there with that. Like, I stand by, if you can't hire voice actors for something like that, just don't bother, right? Something that, like, I say this with games as well, is I can play a game perfectly fine when none of the audio is in English. I've played games that aren't at all in English audio. It needs to have written English, even if it's choppy, it can work, but I can't understand how this was the decision that they chose to make. Like, I actually feel bad for the dub industry from this, because this, like, in the realistic sense, the dub industry already gets a lot of flack from a lot of people. Sometimes, very often unjustly, right? But, like, it happens, and we sadly see that a lot. I just feel like this is gonna fuel the disdain for some people towards the dub industry, not specifically, like, calling Amazon out for the fact that they're being shitheads about this. Because, in that tweet, I believe they even actually, it's literally the person asks the original people that did the official dub, can they please get the thing for it, because, like, god damn, it's awful. Been listening to ASMR on a 4-hour drive? Jeez, yeah. That's... I feel like ASMR on a drive... I don't know. It very much depends on the ASMR, right? But I'd never be able to watch an anime with this stuff. Yeah, no, I say this now, like, I already... So, again, I don't tend to watch a lot of shorts, but, like, I'll watch shorts from time to time, right? Easily, like, 70% of the time, if I hear an AI voice, I'll click off. I'm being perfectly honest on it. Like, I can't stand that synthetic voice. It feels so far off, like, a thing that I can, like, accept. I listen to an ASMRist more than specifically ASMR roleplay. That makes sense. No, I'm just more like, I don't... The way ASMR's done grates on me a little too much. Like, I don't like whispery audio like that. I don't like stuff in my ears. Which is kind of like part of the thing of ASMR. It just sends shivers up my spine. I don't like it. Makes me feel very uncomfortable normally with it. I like doing it as a jokey bit thing, but like I just don't like it. It's actually part of the reason why I've been so slow at editing that one that I said I'd do. It's just normal talk. I mean, at that point in time, what it's sounding like is it's less an ASMR and more of just a podcast. Probably done slightly quietly. Which, like, if that's the case, that's fine. I have no issue with that. I don't know. I know ASMR is like a very wide term. Overall, I tend not to like a lot of the ASMR I've interacted with, though. Meme channel. I was going to meme channel to look at her Elden Ring VOD and checked her ASMR she has. Just to see the titles. My favorite title is Your Cut Little Sisters Give You a Lobotomy ASMR. Yeah, like, see, those ones are the ones I want to do, right? It's like funny meme shitpost ones. Because, like, at that point in time, it's your... Cute. Okay, that's what I was like, the cut? Is that a term that I'm not familiar with? I just assume at this point that it's just something like that. But, like, those ones, you're now listening to it not because it's an ASMR, but because it's a joke. And slam my hands on the keyboard, that's fair. It do be like that some days. Oh, you guys want to see a really funny flavor, like, aneurysm that Magic has now? That, like, I was talking about it with a friend, was it yesterday or something? And I just was like, I almost want to do it purely because I want to see people get angry. Alright, are you ready for this? The fucking, so... The best part is it's all universes beyond, which makes it, like, more aggravating to the normal Magic player. So Toph, right? She has the effect of non-token artifacts you control are considered lands in addition to their other types. And then you can earthbend, right? And earthbending is you turn a land into a creature, and then you put counters on it equal to the earthbend amount that you're doing. If it would die or be exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. That is the idea, okay? We're presetting this, because then we've got... the Golden Throne from Warhammer 40k is an artifact. If you would lose the game and set exile the Golden Throne and then your life total becomes 1. You can metal bend the fucking Golden Throne. And it's actually a legitimate good play. Do you see why I say This is going to actually, like, if I ever pulled that off in a game, it would send, like, so many fans up a wall. No, you can't just do that! You can't just metal bend the Golden Throne! No! Anyway. That's my little funny bit that I have. There's a lot of others like this where it's like a Universes Beyond card that like would normally be kind of meh. That Toph makes like insanely good because it's a shitpost and it's really funny as well. You can't just do that. With how cybernetic the Emperor is, you can just metal bend. It's just really funny to me that, like, there are some, like, really weird niche case scenarios where that just turns the game on its head. Right? Like, I can metal bend Cybermen and Daleks. I can, like, if I list all the things I can metal bend and say, oh yeah, that makes sense, but also at the same time, like, what situation would this ever be relevant? It's like, well, actually it is. It genuinely is relevant. Because I can do this in Magic. Because Magic doesn't make fucking sense. I can metal bend all the fucking Necrons. That's right, I turn all your... With this one little trick, I turn all your fucking Necrons into lands. It's so dumb. Can I metal bend Grandma's Peacemaker? Yikes. That... Oh, good. I mean, this comes to the argument of like, okay, I have a question for you guys. What is your tier list of like the weakest to strongest bending style between earth, fire, water, and air? And keeping in consideration that when you say that, we are counting the sub-bendings within those. So pleading you to listen to that 30 seconds. You mean the car crash one? I've listened to it before. That's the, again, it's one of the ones that I use as an example of what I would like to do. I fucking love it. I should mention, when we are talking about the bending, we're not talking about the philosophies behind them, which does make one of the bendings objectively the strongest when you take away the culture behind it. Yeah, but y'all have figured out on it as well, right? It's literally because airbenders are pacifists. You guys are also missing one of the other most OP fucking effects, right, of airbending. Do you know how airbending works on the user's senses? So yes, airbending is objectively the strongest if you don't consider the culture, right? If you consider the culture, airbending is actually a lot weaker. But no, airbending basically has spidey sense, and this is not a joke. Right? They legitimately can feel the difference in air pressure around them, So you cannot sneak up on an airbender if they're capable of being aware. They feel the air move around them. Exactly. They can also see the air moving. So it's not even feeling the air moving, it's they can see the air moving. Theoretically, this means in a situation where they're like, oh, you need to escape this location, they can see it. This is why you can never hit a roach, yeah. But no, it's like, airbending has all of the tools to be the strongest. It is literally their culture that stops them. So that's why I say, if you're not including culture, airbending is the strongest, then water, then earth, then fire. If a mission is a tunnel or death, yeah, they would. But no, like, water bending, when you consider it sub-bending architectures, as well as, like, if you understand general, like, matter and how the world works, you'll understand very quickly, oh, water is literally everywhere. You're strongest near a large body of water, mind you, yes. But the fact is that, like, even in a situation where you're not, like, near large-scale water, if you're near things that are alive, you have water available. That can be nature, plants, anything like that. Is bloodbending canon? Yeah? What do you mean? Wait. Are you asking if bloodbending is canon? There is an entire arc about that shit in Korra. And there's also, like, the original storyline of it back in Legend of Aang. Bloodbending is... yeah. I'm confused. What do you mean by, is it canon? Yes, it is canon. The concept bloodbending comes from the series. Hama taught... haven't watched Korra? It's an Aang! Do you not remember Hama? In book 3! There's an arc, so there is technically just one episode where they teach it, and then there's one episode where Katara uses it separately. Those are the only instances in bloodbending being used in Aang. In Korra, the entire first book is all about bloodbending. Technically speaking. Guess my brain turned off. That's why I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you mean, is it canon? Literally all the shit we're talking about is stuff that occurs in the series. Like, we actually see, specifically in Korra, an individual that should not have been given airbending. There is a book. Do you know what seasons are called in Avatar? What is season 1 of Avatar called? Oh, that's right, it's the Book of Water. What's the season 2 called? The Book of Earth. I'm actually gonna spin out. Not only that, there is a shitload of novel stuff. I will accept that there's a valid argument there, but seasons are called books for Avatar. They've always had that. It's because it's the Book of Water, the Book of Earth, the Book of Fire. Then in Korra, is it, I think it's the Book of, is it Revolution? Book of Spirit. I can't remember, something like that. They called them more a tale. Yeah, it's the idea. I don't know. Okay. No, okay. Jin, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt stuff, but I'm just gonna try and get, episode card. Right? What I'm pulling up is what starts in pretty much every episode. Give me a second. Do you see? Let's see if we can just really every episode. There is no book in passing say. The fuck you mean reading? No, I accept what Devil's saying, but like that's the idea. Is like every story of Avatar is told as a story. That's why it's books. So every season is called a book, every episode is called a chapter of the general tale that is being told. Change was what, fucking the Red Lotus one was called. It's Unity, I think, is actually the first one of Korra. Is it Unity, Spirit, Change? And I can't remember what the last one is. Those are the literal actual books there. And the comics and stuff. Okay, we'll go with Avatar season names. Oh no, it's Air? Is it? Air, Spirits, Change, Balance. There you go. But yeah, Water, Fire, Earth, then Air, Spirits, Change, Balance. Those are the names of all the books. Or the seasons. But yes, Book 3 Change, we actually see what happens when an airbender is, like someone with the ability to airbend, but does not have the culture of airbending to them. He literally kills a queen, by airbending the air out of her lungs. If you think I'm kidding, I'm not. It's legitimately what happens. Is it Zahir? Yeah. Zahir, kills Earth Queen. Like, literally airbends the air out of her lungs and kills her. When first time I was told my friends that The Legend of Korra is coming out, they really thought that I was lying and making it up. Well, I mean, there's also the next sequel series coming out as well, right? Following the next Avatar, after the world has, like, turned into an apocalypse. Living in regret ever since, yeah. Again, I stand by, and we've talked about this before, and this is the reason why this topic's so, like, avid at the moment is I rewatched the Aang series earlier this year. Which all it did was, like, make me realize how much of it I remembered. Which was, like, a lot. But also because of the, Avatar Magic set that came out. But, like, I stand by with Korra. Korra is a lot better of a series than people give it, like, make it out to be. And it's because when they made it was with the statement that basically the Aang series was made for, like, kids, right? We fully expect that it said that it's, like, it was designed around, like, early teens to, like, basically, I think, like, 10 to 12, kind of like the very baseline demographic. Legend of Korra was designed around, like, mid-ish to, like, mid-late teens. Right? So, like, you could probably be about 16, 17, and it would be your range. And the biggest complaints that I saw around it kind of summarized down to people wanted the more kid-like storyline, whereas, like, no, they made it because, like, y'all are fucking growing up. And this is actually more relevant to you. In fact, I actually think Korra is a way, way more relevant storyline to young adolescents. Which is maybe why people didn't like it, because then they got made to remember how shit their lives are, because that's basically 90% of the plot. Is, like, a lot of fucking excessive drama about being, like, in that precipice before you're considered an adult, but you're considered responsible. Right? Like, it is literally the storyline, like, of the vast majority of it is, you're a kid, why aren't you being responsible? You're a kid, why aren't you being responsible? We've all been in that stage of life, right? Where you're, like, leading up to you're nearly leaving school, stuff like that, but you're still being treated like a kid, but you're also given the responsibilities of an adult. So you're like, choose one. It's why the series, I think, kind of hurt, like, people dislike it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that one. There were parts of Korra I liked and parts of it I didn't care for or actively disliked. See, I think I agree with that. Is like, unlike Aang, there weren't very many parts that I actively disliked. There were parts I didn't care for, and there were parts that I really liked. Whereas Korra had Book 2, right? Which we all remember the Spirits book and how that was objectively the entire season could be written off and people would probably have been happier, aside from the, like, 2-part episode where we got to see the first Avatar. I think, was it a 2-part or is it 1 part? It was something like that, though. It was like 1 or 2 episodes where we got to see the original Avatar storyline. That was legitimately one of the best parts and the only redeemable part of that season. Can we just move on from that? Again, that's why I say, Devil, like, I agree with that. But also you can't deny to an aspect that is what relationships look like for that age bracket, right? Is that they're a fucking mess. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody can understands themselves well enough. The Dark Avatar. See, I'm not against the Dark Avatar storyline. I'm just against the fact that it turned into a giant fucking kaiju fight. And it didn't feel like it was spiritual. It just felt like a kaiju fight. Now, again, I'm someone that will line the fuck up for a kaiju fight. But I'm not wanting to line up for a kaiju fight in a situation where that's... like... I feel like a lot of that final arc would have been more interesting if it didn't have any of that involved. Like, if it was just straight up two avatars going the fuck at it. Right? As someone whose idea of romance is marriage, job, interview, never relate to any romance plot in anything ever. I mean, yes, but surely you can understand that it's like, if you look at something, you go, that is what that demographic has, right? Like, that is a fairly consistent view of it. I'm not saying I had the same sort of relationship that Korra had, but I've seen relationships like that, right? And that's the point I'm more making. Is that this is stuff you would see in, like, these real situations. The kaiju and the overall handling of the plot. Any arc really felt like unexperienced written fanfic. Yeah, no, specifically book 2 was really bad. I absolutely love Amon, right? You've seen in life, I've only seen on TV. I don't know what to say then at that point. Maybe that says more about me and the people I interacted with or saw. But like my experience with teenagers is that hormones are high and their intelligence is low. They make mistakes all the time with relationships, whether romantic or not. But it was often handled poorly and took up too much space. I'll agree with the handled poorly. I think why I disagree with the took up too much space is because it was handled poorly, right? I think if it was handled a little bit better, if it was like, some of it was engineered as, because I think that was the part of the storyline stuff, specifically all of that plot shite in the first book of Korra, that I think is like, the part was of them trying to find their audience that they're aiming for still, right? Like, they're dumbing down a lot of the situations in ways that wouldn't realistically occur to that way, and because of that, they're spending more time on some of those events, whereas they could have spent the same amount of time on those events but have it more cleanly written, and I think it would have been fine. But that's why I say, like, I agree with the handled a little poorly at moments. I just live in a society very different than shows and movies. I mean, okay, my response to that is so do I, right? And shows and movies, media is media, right? Media is media and real life is real life. They're not the same. What I'm trying to say with this, and maybe is why some of it's getting misconstrued, is that, like, the general idea of these things occurring is what occurs in general day-to-day situations, right? Not to say people close to you, but they're happening in some of these things and a loose concept. Typically speaking, when you do a storyline with these in media, you grab the most generic stuff you can of the grand wide thing and mush it together. Sometimes you mush the wrong things in because of that. Now, I was hyper aware of all of this stuff that was going on around me. This is something that is a weird trait of mine, where I would be paying way too much attention to things, because I would want to know what's happening so I can utilize it in however I will. And that's where a lot of this comes in with me saying, like, unlike a lot of other media, this one actually encapsulated the messiness a bit more accurately than typically. Because, like, I grew up with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. While some of the things you can see are loosely based on stuff that would happen, I can't tell you any of the relationships in Buffy the Vampire Slayer are, like, actually real. Because a lot of them are very reliant on extremely supernatural events occurring, making it very difficult. Fuck, I could talk about the relationship between Buffy and Spike after season 6? No, during season 6, when Buffy is resurrected and she can't talk to her friends because how do you tell her friends that they resurrected her out of heaven? So she goes, talks with the only person she knows that she can kind of, like, abuse, and that is a vampire, and they have constant sex, and it's not a relationship based on, like, stability and security. It's based on lust and not being able to basically treat the other as non-human. That is a relationship that I've seen similar stuff, right? But not obviously to that extent. I've seen relationships where they treat the partner like they're not a real human, but not situations where, like, that's literally the case. Does that make sense? I don't know. That was a very weird tangent. This is where, like, the aspect of, like, making the distinction between reality and media is always important. And the fact that, yes, everyone else's experiences are different. Also, the realistic thing I need to understand, and this is a personal thing that I need to understand, is that, like, how do you say it? Modern day settings don't enable awareness of people the same way my earlier years did, right? Like, I'm keenly aware of certain things about certain people more than a equivalent person would be because of, like, online stuff and how more reserved people seem to be in the modern day. Younger individuals tend to be. I don't follow? What part? Saying I don't follow doesn't help me. Like, when I say a large spiel and you say I don't follow, I need to know what. Because then I have to either re-explain the entire thing, or I could re-explain from a specific point. How's current day makes it harder to understand others? Oh, well, it's... So... people are less willing to talk to each other directly by comparison to what they would have 10 years ago. Because now social media is a bit more of a thing. People are more willing to communicate in online or non-in-person settings than they used to. which means that information is less shared, and that's one of the big parts of it. Whereas, like, it seems like a human well, that's the point I'm making, Jin, is that, like, I still can deal with people and understand them better, but, like, I'm trying to make an argument of, like, if I was born 10 years later than I was, right? Then I probably wouldn't have been able to be as keenly aware of people around me as I am because of the time frame I was born in. That was what I was saying. I mean, I could talk about child development. I have a degree that has relevancy for a lot of that, and I had to study it quite a bit for said thing. I could talk about how child development sectors have already noticed massive shifts in the ability for the individuals to actually talk with each other. We've actually seen massive things about, like, response to failure is a huge one in child development. It's now more adverse and avoidant than it was before. Yes, that is what I'm doing, Jin. When I'm saying, like, the time frame I was born in versus the time frame of someone of this, again, imagine you took exactly the same kind of person I was born as and moved them 10 years further forward. In, like, to when they would have been set into the scope of things, I would have probably been less able to be aware of things because less information is available so readily. So my understanding of people would have been worse. My understanding of people is only to the level it is because I came to, like, I believe I came through an era that enabled it better than what currently is enabled. So that's where it's a generational aspect as well of understanding. And that's something I find I've been noticing as well. I've always been told by my family that I suck ass at understanding and interacting with people. Yes, but there's a reason why I used myself as an example in that situation, right? If we took the same individual that was able to be keenly aware of stuff and moved them further forward into the scope of time, there would be less understanding. So therefore, by that argument, if you took someone with less understanding from that previous point and moved them to that further point again, they would have even less understanding. Like, think of it like this. Let's pull up paint, because this might actually help it, like, kind of give understanding to the point that's being made. Right, so let's say we have a graph here, right? And we'll say the bottom, so this part is age. I am in front of it saying age, so I'll put that somewhere different. We'll put that down here, even though you kind of shouldn't be. So that's age, and this is understanding, right? So, say, using that argument, this is 1999 down here, and this is 2000, and this is 2010, right? what I'm trying to make as an argument is that if you were born here, you would probably have, like, it would be kind of like a scope like this, right? Curve of understanding. Age is year of birth. Both age is a year. You'll see. Just I'll draw as we go, right? So let's do this in colors. Say born at this exact 1990s spot, right? The understanding in available for the individual. So we'll go like this. And then we'll also say a low understanding individual would have something like that, right? Then, say if they were born in the 2000s, the argument I'm making is that, like, so this is also a stretch of time. Because of the weird, the fact that people are more reserved, I would argue that the curve would be generally lower. Right? And it would be even lower from this point in time. It's not that, like, there is an aspect of time, it's also an aspect of when this occurred. Right? So by that same argument, if you have a lower understanding or scope, your baseline will probably be even lower by comparison. This is the argument I'm trying to present. Is that we're truly caring about the difference between these points here. Not the difference between these points. Actually, I can draw this as blue to help signify it separately. Alright? We're looking at the difference between these pink arrows, comparing the same individual born at different points, and by comparison, how less understanding they'd have of an individual around them, or awareness of them, regarding the exact same base settings of an individual. That's why I was using myself as an example for this idea. Is that if you took, say, these green lines are myself, right? I'm not saying my understanding's great, we'll just very much arbitrarily kind of put these. Born at this stage, my total my total growth rate would be higher of a percentage. Is greater just because I was born in an era where that stuff would be more available and more ready. Versus down here where it decreases each by each generation section. Less and less is understood base-wise and available, so the growth rate is decreasing. So it's this modifier that we're looking at. That is what I was presenting as an argument. Is this rate here decreasing over time. So that means that the higher spectrum would get lower on average, and the lower spectrum would also get lower. Again, we're talking about a theoretical thing, so I understand that there is some, like, nuance to this that's hard. I think this is something majority affected by parental oversight and the growth of parenting, as well as social economic factors. My response to that is that that is definitely an aspect of it, right? Like, what I'm talking about is like larger scale. We're talking about cultural, societal, socioeconomic factors. All these things would change and influence this growth rate, right? What you're arguing is very much a specific aspect of the greater point that's being made. So, I will not deny socioeconomic factors and home factors in general have a much greater bearing on an individual's thing. This is something I can actually pull up in a book that I have. Like, there is evidence to indicate how much it, generally speaking, has as an influence, and it's very high. However, that's the point we're making. is that it is everything is, in my eyes, enabling the growth of understanding of other individuals less and less. Not just parenting. Parenting is too narrow of a scope to look at. We're in the information age right now. I would argue we're actually past the information age and we're in the entertainment age. But what you're arguing is general information. What I'm arguing is sense of self and sense of self and others. Right? To say, oh, information is more readily available. Yes, that is true. But now you're trying to argue a tautology against me. You mean social events that incentivize growth. That's a way to view it. I would say just generally the ability to be aware of self and others, and self and others. These are there are specific development points where these occur, and I believe those parts are becoming less and less available and viable by comparison because of the access to wider scope information and the internet, and the less willingness to seek out these interactions physically. And this is something that is backed up by research. There is a massive difference in development between social development between an individual that interacts online and an individual that interacts in person. And not interact with others in the modern age. That is an interpretation, yes. There was no alternative. That's, again, like, that's probably a really boiled down argument of what I'm trying to say. That you could probably put forward. Like, I would say it's missing a little bit of nuance that's important to not potentially antagonize individuals, but I would definitely say opportunity growth for this sort of stuff. So we're talking specifically about the concept of self, right? So self is the concept of being aware of an individual's autonomy, basically. The ability for that individual to think and feel and be themselves, right? So what I'm saying kind of is, so how it works is a child will eventually develop the ability to determine self for for themselves, right? They'll eventually get a sense of self for themselves. They'll understand that they have autonomy, they'll have the ability to think, these sorts of things. This is something that happens, like, really relatively early on. I believe, like, between 4 and 7 years old is when they develop the concept of self for themselves. And then just after that, when that's occurred, a few years later, they'll start to develop that for others. They'll understand, develop the concept of self in others. And that's the important aspect that I think is being stunted by the online nature of interaction now. Is that because they're interacting online, they're interacting with individuals that are either very much not how the individual is in real, but in how they are in the sense of, like, they're interacting with basically fake people, right? And I mean this with the most, like, let's be honest, right? None of us act the way we actually are online. Like, I act fairly similar to how I am in real life, but I am definitely, like, I say less jokes by comparison. I definitely say worse taste jokes in real life as well. But that's also because I'm talking with friends, right? I try to mitigate it, but I agree. Yeah, like, it's a thing that I don't think people can truly disagree with in a full sense. But I can also see valid argument to how much impact that actually has on things. And that's where a lot of debate is actually in the academic sphere for a lot of these things. Got back from the shower. What's with the chart? We're talking about the, like, growth of social understanding of an individual and how it's progressively the percentage of growth that's available is less and less as time is continued. The next pirate software. Hell yeah. But at the same time, they're interacting with a much broader variety of people. Yeah, but it's the problematic aspect of it is that they're not interacting with, like, people face to face, which is absolutely important, right? That's leading to confidence being lower, confidence in self and confidence in social. These are big things that we've seen on the decline, which is why anxiety is also in general higher, right? Anxiety has become much more of a problem. Even in my generation, we've noticed how high anxiety is by comparison. And it's because we're keenly aware of the situations around us, but we're feeling less comfortable and less confident in interacting with them. So it's the aspect of we're informed, but we feel unable to act upon that information. Whereas younger generations are unaware and uninformed by comparison, purely because of the fact that the information quality has gone down, but the information quantity has gone up. I would say the way I interact AFK is degraded by the way I become gone alone online, yeah. Today's children are in a weird new spot. It's really difficult and concerning to see trends. Speaking of anxiety, I feel like my productivity was shit today because my brain couldn't handle the stress of all the things I need to get done. Yeah. And that's another part as well, is we're in an era where, again, talking on large-scale access of information and data and stuff, how, like, generally speaking, the general person will be overwhelmed. This is why, like, more and more mental health-orientated medical advice is becoming, like, take breaks from away from computers, away from your monitors and your phone and all that. Go take a walk. Go do something else. Because human beings need time to process, and because a lot of us have gotten to the stage where we process during, like, we quotation mark process because I'll go play a game because I need to de-stress. That actually doesn't help you a lot of the time. Like, you can compartmentalize during that time a little bit and kind of process certain things, but overall, you need time of just empty brain to just think and feel through everything so you can actually come to understand these things. You need that time, which is absolutely essential to gain, like, that insight and understanding around it. And I feel that, then to the point I'm scared that that might become my normal. I dislike that that's kind of become partly my own normal. It's like I do get overwhelmed by the tasks that I need to do, and then sometimes I'll just go, I can't handle this, I need to go lie in bed for a little bit. Again, I want to speak that a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is from personal experience and personal understanding on a lot of the stuff, but it has got rooted in an academic study. Right. Duration before destroy self, that comment speaking facts. Yeah. A work from home problem? It very much is, because it's like the difficulty of my workspace is my relaxation space as well, right? Especially accentuated by the fact that, like, my bed is it's about a meter or so away from me, right? Like, that is where I go to rest fully. I go to sleep. Whereas, like, on top of that, where I go to play games to potentially and theoretically unwind is the same places where I'm doing this work. So there is an aspect of having to try and differentiate those things, to separate those things as much as possible. But at that same time, I know that, at least in my case especially, I am very much a physical space individual, where that does, like, change things for me. Right? Like, when I had my sleeping space separate from my office space, where I would work, I was generally more productive. And then when I had my gaming space and my office space separate, I was even more productive, right? Like, when I would have to go somewhere to do work, I would just go there to go do work. I would knock that shit out in a couple of hours by comparison, something that potentially might take me, like, a day or a week even, if I was to do it in a home environment. Now I don't have the option there, and I have to do this like I am, and that leads to difficulties, and it frustrates me, but it is also, there is no other option available to me, right? So we're very working from home, but I can't, but when I can, but that's the real problem. Yeah, like, that's the thing. I prefer being able to work from home, but it is a generally problematic thing. A lot of people I know try and set timers for, like, relevancy around that, where, like, they'll set hard timers for, like, this is when I do work, or this is when I would play games, stuff like that. I got really good at one stage of doing, like, I would do work for an hour to 2 hours, I would take a 40-minute break to play a game, and then I would do another 2 to 3 hours, and then I would repeat kind of in general, like, this sort of loop of being able to spend 10 hours playing work, or, like, doing work or playing games, and that's how I would handle a lot of my life. I joined in a weird chat, but interesting, and I fully agree with you. I mean, I'll say this, right? It is not always a good thing to say that you fully agree. You can fully agree on all that sort of stuff, that's great. I'm not saying you have to disagree, but always, my immediate thing is, like, I don't always like having people answer my own opinions. There's a reason why as well, and you'll probably notice with a lot of my terming of things, is that when I agree with something but not fully, I will phrase it as it's not how I would say it, or these sorts of things. Like, I present it slightly differently potentially. It's something I got really good at during my first degree, is that, like, presenting, because it's a fun little thing, right? I think I talked about this briefly before. A lot of my life I would roll over when people would put opinions towards me. I was very opinionated, but I was very reluctant because I couldn't, like, formulate what I would say correctly, right? One of the biggest issues I had was when I was younger especially, I would try and do these exact same points and opinions and discussions that I am now, but I wasn't as informed, and I would be trying to use these larger words that I'm using as well, but I would be using them generally incorrectly. Because I didn't understand a lot of the things I was saying, but I understood what I was trying to, like, I understood the feeling I had towards the thing. I didn't understand how to convey that. And that's one of the things my degree taught me, which I'm really glad it did. Because, God, I wish I had that earlier in life. Is it really helped cement my ability to convey what I'm trying to say, and being able to, like, backtrack and, like, mold around an idea to, like, make it presentable in the most understandable way. So there was a section of my life where I just stopped giving my opinions on things because I didn't feel educated or anything enough to be able to, like, convey it well. It was near the end of high school that kind of started kicking in. I see what you mean. Yeah, like, it's... There's all sorts of ways to look at these sorts of arguments. And again, this is why I say as well, going back to kind of where the origin of a lot of this discussion was born from, Jin, I'm not saying you're wrong or I'm not saying I'm right, because at the end of the day, I know what I know and you know what you know, right? It's easier to agree than argue or open a new whole discussion. Yes, there is an aspect of that, right? Which is like the compliancy of argument, which I do this at work settings, is it's better to nod along when someone is like, if someone comes up to you and says, oh, Frank from accounting, oh God, I really can't put up with them. Like, they're really annoying. It's just easier to go, yeah, I get what you mean, than it is to go like, I don't have a problem with Frank. Right? But it's also best to leave your statements ambiguous enough that it satisfies the other individual, because they want to have some sense of justification in their feeling, which is more than accurate. Like, it's more than valid, I should say. But be non-committal enough to also, like, be able to backpedal it in the case that something is brought up from this. Like, if you're brought into HR and say, hey, we heard you talking poorly about Frank over in accounting, you can say, this individual was talking to me about it and I just didn't get involved with the conversation at all myself. Like, I let them vent, is what you can describe it as, and they'll probably just leave you alone at that point. Okay, let's talk about that later. Then 90% of the time we never revisit it, yeah. It also depends on the situation of the person on the other side. For example, it's easy to discuss things with you, but it's hard because we write in chat and can only follow your pace. Yeah, there's an aspect of that, and there's a reason why I say, like, you sometimes, especially you guys, have the disadvantage that you have to be way more descriptive of what you might not understand or agree with than you would have to be in person, because I potentially, again, I noticed this, I talk quite quickly, right? This is very much a New Zealander trait, and when I'm more excited about something, which is sometimes in these discussions, I do tend to fire out rapidly. Which means you have to deal with the fact that there's delay, then you have to deal with the fact that I potentially may have already started moving on from that topic. So instead of being able to just go, hey, wait a minute, in real life, you have to be more descriptive of what is the thing that you need pointed out or discussed further. There's also, in a sense, an unwillingness to try and do that because potentially you're breaking the flow of the discussion, right? When you get excited, you shift gear a lot. Yeah. Yeah, no, again, there's a reason why I make an active effort to speak slower in general, because I know New Zealanders speak quite quickly. And it's a big problem that I have, that, like, obviously when I'm more excited about a topic or when I'm just like reciting information out of my head, I'm firing it off quick enough to keep up with my brain as well. I already bring up a point in conversation 10 minutes after we move on. I don't know how much later that would be for chat, yeah. But like, this is the thing, especially when I'm doing one of these kind of like topical discussion points, I'm never against anyone pointing at something. If you disagree with something, I'm willing to like take a moment at least to like discuss on it. I will say sometimes, like I said it earlier, like there's sometimes where it's an argument of tautology where it's like, or at that point in time, we're arguing such a minor point, I don't see a value in it. Because, to explain that point that I'm making there with the tautology, it's like, if I said, in general, people drink this much water in a day, and you respond with, well, yesterday I didn't have any water, or yesterday I had double that amount. It's like, cool, you've now just like, not per se dissuaded my argument, you've just added a point to the argument that doesn't really change anything that's been said. It's like, I've also stated in general, right? By that being the case, I'm accepting outliers within that scope. Now, if you said the majority and gave me some information behind that, that's a very different point. That's no longer an argument of tautology. That's an argument of... Never mind me, I'm pointing, yeah. But, like, that's no longer an argument of tautology. That's an argument of, like, actual discussion against the point. And there's a point to be discussed with on that. Right? But, at that same time, this is not me trying to dissuade from giving a personal case scenarios in it. It's probably, at that stage, better to, like, still throw it at me so I can respond to it. Right? Because, what was it earlier? I think it was when we were discussing specifically, like, socioeconomic factor involved in that growth percentage we were discussing. It's like, I said, it's like, well, that's a bit more of a tautology argument, because it's, you're arguing something that's within the scope we're arguing, and you're agreeing with the scope of argument, but you're just giving a niche part of it by comparison. That's why I was like, I'm not going to go further on it, because that's included in the argument. This is actually something we saw in New Zealand government, funnily enough, back in COVID, and I love this one. It's because, and I will say this because I'm going to shit on, I don't like, again, trying to avoid politics stuff, but also, hey, Yasin, how's it going? But this one was really funny, is we had, so at the time, our Labour government was in charge, and the national government was challenging a thing being put forward by the Labour government, which was basically a, kind of like, what would be the best description for it? Basically an amount of money being given to businesses to handle the fact that they have to close during COVID, right? And National said, okay, well, we put forward a plan about these people, like this group of like businesses. What about them? It's like, they're included in the plan. Yes, but you're not answered the question. What about them? It's like, they're in the plan that you've got in front of you. Yes, but you haven't answered. They're in the plan that you've been given. And it became this, like, cyclical argument between, like, National going, but what about our stuff? And Labour responding, they're included. And that was why I'm like, I'm gonna nip that in the bud real quickly. It's like, this is included in the argument. Therefore, it's not that it's irrelevant, it's that it's relevant but not necessary to talk about in a grand scope. Yeah, no, there was many jokes about that situation. I can't remember it too well, because again, we're talking like 3, maybe 4 years ago when this happened, but God, it was funny. keep in mind as well, this was leading up to elections, at the time, which was, like, really bad. It made National look incredibly bad on the scope of things. It was very funny. It may have been long ago. It might have even been 2020, actually. That's wild. Actually, I wonder how hard it would be to find. It was very, very entertaining to witness, though. It was just basically an incompetent leader trying to, like, point, like, inadequacies out of an individual, but in the process, like... Good argument, counter argument, you stink. I mean, that just reminds me of, one of my mates that's just like... Okay, like, we're playing Magic, and it's like, I'm gonna attack you, and it's like, you got any responses? Your mother. And it's like, damn, it's a really good response. Anyway, I'm gonna attack you. So what the fuck am I supposed to do to that? Owned, exactly. It was so dumb. I feel like that... Is it not called cooldown core? It should be called cooldown core. Is the summon logic not constructed with the with yet? I guess that might be my issue. But yeah. It's arguments like that I absolutely just kind of giggle at sometimes, because it's like, it's very clear that, like, you've acknowledged you're in a situation where you're like, I can't do anything. Anyway, no you. Like, you gotta take fun when you're getting swung at. Especially when you got I think you got swung at for like 29 damage. It was great. Then I proceeded to use him to get me a win. It was amazing. That game was really funny to me because it was like a game I had something on the board for far longer than I should have. And it basically, I kept everyone on my side because I never use it on them during their turn for the most part. And the only time I would use it on them during their turn was to just make them slow the gas down a little bit. I want to start a streaming career, invest all my income into raising my platform, apply to HoloLive, touch my cocoa-tail, graduate. That's a pretty good idea, I'll be real with you, Chief. I stand by if I was ever given the... Like, okay, I have a question for you guys. Would y'all be upset if I just disappeared one day and turned up in an agency? I'm curious. No? Get paid? That is true. I would get paid, and I would actually be able to, like... God, imagine me actually, like, agency paid and stuff like that. How much I would probably be streaming by comparison, right? I'd spit upon thee. That's fair. Get the bag. Well, because, like, that's the thing, right, is... I've considered it, right? I have applied in the past. And I can say that with very much, like, full openness because there's no problem with it. I'd be very happy for you and support you too, there too, I guess. See, that's one of those things that I'm like, because when it comes down to it, I would have to drastically change my external, like, how I am done. Get forced into making ASMR, e-boy content, and then, yeah. Right? But it would mean that I would have a lot less freedom, and a lot of these discussions that we have now would probably have to, like, stop happening, I'd assumedly. Or at least to the same scope, or comparatively. I mean, God, I don't even think I'd be able to, like, program on stream anymore, which would be wild. You possibly could not even acknowledge, you know who your chatters are. Yeah. I mean, also there's the difficulty of, it would be me going from potentially, like, a scope of at most dealing with, like, 10 chatters at once to potentially hundreds of people talking, and I would definitely have an aneurysm during that. Be despicable too. I don't know, have you seen some Hololive? They're pretty... there was a meme yesterday, I saw it. I'm not gonna give too much light to it, and I'm not gonna post it, but it did make me chuckle, and it was basically a list of Hololivers that could say a word in particular, and it was really funny. All I'll say is that of the Hololive girls, Liz was the only one in the bottom category that it just says, thought it meant cigarette. And I'm gonna leave it at that. It was one of those ones I was reading, I'm like, what is the word? Oh. And then... Join Holostars, touch, fly on stuff. I'm gonna be honest, right? There's a reason why I chuckled. I think I posted the meme for it before, which was just like, Yagu talking to like the groups, and it's like, oh hi, and it's like, oh we like, and it's like the original Hololive. It's like, oh we like women. It's like what? And it's like then a next group of the Hololive stuff, and it's like, oh we also like women, and. Then Holo Ian, it's like, oh, we also like women. And it's like, does anyone here like men? And it's just Holo Stars at the bottom. It's like, does any of you like men? It's like, the men do. I stand by. VTubers are just really, really gay. My boys, exactly. I do want to watch more of, some of them boys. Oh, I did see a meme yesterday that I sent to Noxy. I haven't seen a response yet, but... It made me chuckle that apparently, admittedly this is not FDA approved yet, it is still in testing, but there is apparently a male pill being done at the moment. Like, is under development. Thanks. Oh, did automod hit you there, Jen? I see it. Here, I'll allow that. But there's a male pill being developed. And it's, really funny because, like, it's basically, this guy was explaining, he's like, he said it to his female friends, and they're like, oh, that's awesome, you can start taking it, right? Yeah, male control pill, right? And then... he responds with, and this is true for it so far. So far, it develops no side effects, and the immediate response is, fuck you. Of course you guys get the fucking no, no side effects one. I'm just chuckling something fierce. You mean I won't get pregnant? Exactly, Sweeb. It means you can hold hands, even. It's really lewd, I know. But yeah, that was really funny to me. Is it's just like the men get a control pill and it doesn't have side effects potentially, and it's like, I swear, why do we get all the good stuff? So, I'm gonna re-enable this because I think it's... So that's undefined by consideration. I guess we're just built different, quite literally indeed, yeah. No, it's just, that's just really dumb. We have it far too easy as men sometimes. It's kind of fucked up. Activated a Stalvo voice in my brain. Upsetting. Master! This is definitely not gay. Alright. So now dealing with this. Come on, let you handle the stuff necessary to do the debug trigger. Interesting. So cooldown core hasn't been constructed yet, but everything else has? Why? Oh. I've forgotten you. That would explain it. I'm cursed and now so are you. Portal. I'm not gal by, but would. I did see something the other day that made me chuckle, which was like, in an art class apparently, they were doing like review of everyone's art, right? And it got to a specific individuals, and like with the most trackpad like written wood, the like a guy in front of the artist of that piece just writes wood on their computer and like leans back and shows them. And it's like, just imagine being in the middle of an art class and you get your stuff reviewed and someone just goes, wood! Need to go, but it was fun being here for the time. All good, Hyper. Catch you later. Nah, yeah, it wasn't a racing issue. It was just straight up, I wasn't constructing it correctly. I've forgotten to put a new when I should have had. Which mean that, yeah, it made sense why it was undefined. That's why I was like confused, because I was like, shouldn't it be constructing that before that? Because what I'm doing is, technically speaking, how you do, like when you use width and then create an instance inside the width, is you create the instance and it returns the ID of that instance to the width. So it means this should be made, all creation events should be occurring and being done, and then all of this is getting put through it. So the summon core should make sense, the cooldown core should make sense, everything should make sense. So we're gonna probably also add in a... So this is, I think, the firing logic. I probably copy a little bit of this over for the movement logic. Definitely gonna have to pass through self at the minimum. There we go. Then let's also set up a else case. There we are. Oh, dude. No. Region lock and outright no longer available items now? Damn. Fucking Peter, man. Alright. Peter is wild. Because, like, they are just... What the fuck is, like, the mentality you require to do some of this stuff, right? So, this is, like, their new thing that they've got here. Which is, like, killing a baby shouldn't be a Thanksgiving, shouldn't be, on Thanksgiving shouldn't be a tradition, yada yada yada, right? It's fucking AI generated. Like, again, there's a fine line between an acceptable response of, like, an individual is a living being, these animals are living, and you should treat life sacredly, and then there's, like, treating them like they're humans, and then their humanization is just concerning. Because it's very much like trying to extreme case fearmonger people, which is why I don't like them, right? Again, I know plenty of vegans, and fully agree with a lot of the reasonings that they have for it, right? Is they didn't like the fact that animals getting killed for this. They'll also give me ecological arguments. I agree with that, right? It's very far from the worst they ever posted. Yeah, but it's just the fact that it's AI generated, and even fucking pirate software has pointed that out. Like, that's wild. So, like, that's my issue with a lot of that stuff, right? Is it's that, like... I don't know, right? So I remember something vaguely about crabs, yeah. I can't with some of it, right? Love to make a survival horror game, like Little Nightmares about being a dog captured by PETA. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. It's like, under these arguments, they try and like put forward the sort of moral high ground, but they're no better than the arguments they're putting forward. I kind of why I get pissy at New Zealand from time to time is New Zealand constantly tries to take a moral high ground when we're like no better about a lot of things. One of the biggest examples of that is like around ecological things. It's like, oh, well, you need to be better about this and that. It's like, fuck you, we ain't good. That's why I say every country's got their problems, but like that's something that gripes me with that, and it's just that Peter's exactly that issue. Is look, I would like to say, maybe I'm wrong on this. I try not to take a moral high ground on a lot of things, especially when I make the argument with like, if I say something and I'm like, I'm a hypocrite for saying it, I try and acknowledge that I'm a hypocrite while saying it, right? When I tell people, don't drink too much, God, I'm a fucking hypocrite. When I tell people not to do really dumb things sometimes, I'm a hypocrite, and I fully say that, right? But I'll also say, it's like, oh, this is from experience. Don't do this. I think that's kind of an important thing to acknowledge with a lot of the stuff. It's like, I wouldn't be against people making these arguments if they acknowledge the hypocrisy of their, like, point. There's some topics and some people I am very comfortable assuming the higher moral ground and not even debate it, because I know they will never acknowledge my side of the argument. There's that as well, right? Like, there's definitely individuals that I feel it's like, oh, well, I'm barely gonna even, like, acknowledge your argument purely because, like, you've not put in the effort for it either. I think that's one of the times that I'm probably the most rude, is when, like, someone's putting an argument forward and I'm like, where's your evidence? It's like, oh, and, like, if you can't give me a good answer, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely questioning things. But if you're just actively, like, being an ass with it as well, Like, this is where I stand by the thing of, like, I'm not against, per se, devil's advocate. I just would like people, if they want to do a devil's advocate argument, to present it slightly better sometimes. Because I'm gonna be honest, if you're just arguing for the sake of arguing, I'm definitely gonna look at you like an idiot. It's where I do kind of point at the thing of, like, mentioned earlier, someone coming in and going like, oh, I agree with you. It's like, that's fine, and I'm not gonna say you can't. I would definitely say that it's still worthwhile to keep your own opinion, even if it's, like, mostly the same. But, at that same time, like, that's also a valid thing. If you agree with a point, it's great to just go like, hey, I actually don't want to even debate you on this because it's just, yeah. Now, admittedly, that doesn't sometimes work with when I'm doing it because, like, as the streamer, I'm making an effort to sometimes present the idea. So if everyone's in agreement, that's great, but I'll still try and present it still to an extent, and then I will try and put forward some of the, like, counter arguments because I do like having that space. But yeah, no, it's definitely kind of the, like, if you're the presenter of the original argument and everyone agrees with you, it's kind of on you to present the counterance to a lot of it, right? That's why I said, like, with the Peter one, I gave an argument, I presented the argument, I also, like, very easily presented the counter argument towards it, right? Thoughts on stealing someone's opinion because they put it in words better than I do. That's actually really interesting. So, my question towards that, right, is, do you agree with the opinion? Because I don't tend to do that. I tend to go like, hey, this person's worded the idea that I've got better, so I'll present that, but I won't say that I fully agree with a point. I've done that a few times, but I don't think I tend to go like, oh no, straight up, I agree with, I'm just going to give you this guy's argument because this is my argument. I'll always kind of present the fact that I can be in a difference of opinion of what I'm agreeing with. Even only just slightly. I don't know. I don't think there's, per se, anything wrong with that. Again, if there's nothing in the statement that you disagree with, I don't think there's a problem. The thing that immediately comes to mind, writing game reviews for myself, or show reviews. So, what you do is you find a review that I'm guessing you, like, more or less agree with, and you, like, more or less copy and paste and present that forward. Or, let's, like, I would read 10 different ones and form my own. See, that I think's great, right? It's worth doing that if you're not that much into the argument, or it's worded in a way that's more appealing to people you can't deal with. Yeah, there's an aspect of that as well. No, I think, like, if you came out of something and you're asked for your opinion on it, and you inform your own opinion, like how you want to present your opinion, by using others that have previously presented it, I don't see a problem with that at all, right? I think that's a very reasonable approach. That's what I tend to do with a lot of my stuff that I put forward, is like, hell, I do that with programming, right? Like, technically speaking, everything I'm writing is an original. There is an aspect of, like, I have either learned or informed myself or seen other people present, some of these things this way, and from that I've been able to construct my own kind of thing around it. So there's nothing wrong with, like, informing your point with others. In fact, that's probably better to do, because then you have some validity to your point. Because then you can say, hey, this individual, like, this is my point, and this person agrees with this. Someone asked me about the show I watched 10 years ago. I open reviews and skim it until I relate to a point and read it and then talk about it. Each score. See, I think that's very valid, right? Like, there are many times where I'll pull up my anime list, right? Especially now. That time has gone on so much more, right? Let's literally pull up my anime list, and I potentially will have to, like, go into the thing, read the description, and then potentially look up further information to see whether or not I actually, like, to inform my memory and understanding of it. What's a good example of a series that, like, immediately I'd have to look up some stuff to even be able to give you a point of it? It's also why I don't do reviews anymore on my own view stuff. Because it's just like, that I'd have to constantly be changing them in accordance. What's a series that I immediately I don't recognize well? This is, okay, what you're seeing now is actually part of the problem, is that, like, I can read the name, look at the image, and, like, have a bit of the thing come to me. Let's go with Flying Witch, because I kind of remember watching that recent-ish, but, like, I liked it because, there was, like, one of the characters in it came in like a whirlwind constantly. And it was this character in the white hair. Because it's, like, older sister or something like that. In the witch's tradition, when a practitioner turns 15, they must become independent, leave their home, study witchcraft. As once a student and leave her parents' home to pursue the knowledge and training, along with her companion, Black Cat Familiar. They embark on a journey to a Mori, a region favored by witches due to the abundance of nature and affinity with magic. Begin their new life with Kei Kuramoto and his little sister, Chinatsu. Yeah, if I remember correctly, trying to remember this one fully. Was this the one where, like, she went to school with him as well, and you're not supposed to, per se, be obvious about your magic? I feel like was the case, and it was a bit, like, you evolve your... No, that's the other one I'm thinking of. What is this one? Okay, I felt kind of that, the instant magic we did, but rather feels like traditional magic or magic that requires preparation of certain rituals. The storyline is relaxed, enjoyable while enjoying a meal. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I remember this one that fully. Black and White River were the best parts. Like, the fact that I can remember only 1 or 2 bits about this is also, like, sometimes the argument I also make, right? Is, oh, well, I don't actually remember enough of it, so therefore it's probably not that gripping and well done to an aspect. I feel like it was enjoyable, though. I do remember having fun with it. But I do think I agree with what I'm seeing here. It's very laid back and chill, right? So what we're getting from this. I also, based on the recommendations and stacks that it's involved with, it seems to be like very slice of life. And based on the stuff there, it's also very like low magic things. I think I remember this because like she comes in with the broom as well, and it's like, again, I'm pretty sure it's kind of that thing of like magic is there, it's present, but it's not overly present. And it's a little bit about like the general life day to day. Gotta love a good broom, yeah. So like that's an example there of like, yeah, how did I inform myself? I also had to look at some of the reviews. I had to go through some of that stuff. Helped inform kind of what I was looking at. Also says a lot about me that it took me that long to find an anime that I'm like, I don't remember you well enough to be able to tell you what fully happens in it. Alright? Like, I can tell you what happens in Girly Air Force randomly. Goblin Slayer, well, that's easy as fuck. God Eater, fuck, that was... Golden Time, a great fucking series, phenomenal. Fruit of Crusader, definitely can tell you what happens in there, because I played the game as well. Like that sort of thing, right? One of the anime that got erased from my brain is Akamega Kill. Really? That's one that's very, very still in my core memories. Not the arcs and beats? Okay, that I understand. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, if I remember a series, it will probably be main key points, the general gist of things. Like, I remember how, like, they attacked the ship with, like, the guy that was very pretty, and he had the main weapon that it gets given to the character that's the story's being told from, right? Like the suit of armor thing. Like, I can tell you a lot about his death as well, right? I can tell you a bit about some of the fights. Like, I mean, there's at least 2 or 3 fights that involved the girl with the scissors as a primary factor, stuff like that. I mean, it's the general, these characters are the initial rebellious force that's involved with, well, like, they're the specific rebellious force that we're following as well, of, like, the greater rebellion versus one of the larger powers at the time. Izeth is one of the main tools of said war machine as well. And when they go to, like, really push forward is where a lot of the characters die, right? Point I fully forgot about the scissors. I mean, fuck, I can still remember it unfolding, right? Like, into the larger scissors. I still remember the guy with the wires as his weapon getting shanked through the heart by several spears by him falling on them. That was great. I still remember the exact moment Esdeath fucking finds the main the main character that the story's being told from, and basically freezes herself with him and disappears. Like, these sorts of things, right? Like, I can remember core events. I definitely can't tell you what happens episode by episode. Not like Aang, I can definitely recite a lot of that information even prior to my rewatch. But that's because that one is, like, way too insane for me. Again, if a series has been rewatched, like, probably 3 to 5 times or more, I definitely remember, like, all the core parts of it. A toxic crush on Izeth. Yeah, I mean, who didn't, right? I mean, fuck, do you remember what, her rank and what her basically quotation mark weapon was? Because her weapon was interesting, because it was basically a thing, that was implanted in her, and it gave her the powers, unlike the others, which were weapons that are normally wielded and used against people, right? That's why she was able to control ice the way she was, but it also put damage on her body. Like, it's fascinating going through a lot of these sorts of things sometimes. Fuck, where was I? What? Pardon me? What, I mean, the one that I'm sure is always remembered the easiest by anyone that's watched Akameka Kill is, you are what you eat, so I became a lollipop. Oh, I can just say that and immediately there's a fucking gut reaction from so many of y'all to go, oi. So you motherfucker. How dare. You're not wrong, but how dare. Ah. I have a shirt that's coming in the mail, by the way. I fully can't wait for it to arrive because, like, I'm partly holding off on doing the dev video for this game, for the next update, partly because I'm like, that shirt would be really funny to wear for it. That, and also I've just not had the time, so I'll try and force the time a bit more aggressively when we do that. Wearing a normal t-shirt though in this fucking weather. To be fair, it's nice and chilly this morning. At least so far. Can't wait for it to be fucking humid as shit by the afternoon. It's typically how it goes. Oh, I want to go on a joke discussion based on something I posted over on Discord that, like, I think is absolutely important to, like, discuss on. So, let's grab the fucking Discord for a moment. Right? So this tweet here, which is just this guy's clip.
If you make a hear me out cake and all of your hear me outs are just attractive characters, that's a red flag. You grew up too sheltered if you're like, okay guys, hear me out on this one. Captain America. Like, Susie, go fucking grow up. You know what my hear me out is? You wanna know my hear me out? Fortnite Scooby-Doo. I bet a lot of you just went, and you know what? That's a fucking point! I yearn for the day when I watch a Hear Me Out video and someone's Hear Me Out is an Epson printer. That's a Hear Me Out. How are you gonna get in there? Can you imagine during you're like, ah! Ah! And your partner, the printer, is like,
yep. Not the topic, but his voice at the end. Yeah, he really, like, cemented a lot of that. Anyway, I love that because it's so fucking true. The amount of times I deal with, like, the amount of times that, like, I deal with people that it's like, oh, hear me out, and it's like, a character like, I'm pretty sure fucking 90% of the people that saw that Susan are going, hear me out. Or at least, smash. Alright? Like, Amelie doesn't even say hear me out anymore. She just says smash. And she's got, like, most of the fucking hear me outs that I think of when it comes to VTubing, right? Her and Bao. In fact, I'll be honest, most of Bao's aren't even hear me outs, it's just her being fucking down bad in a way that, like, we feel going, you okay there? Right. Like, I feel we can very much easily point at that stuff. Immediately when I was, like, listening to this, and one of my thoughts was how, like, when I was asked for, like, some anime recommendation stuff, at one point in time, I presented the one, Kamfa, right? And I say that one's a guilty pleasure one for me. Not because it's good or anything like that, it's because it just encapsulates a lot of things I like. And it's very, very much like a soft hentai at some moments. I wouldn't even say soft, I'll be honest, at some moments. And like, that is my immediate thought of like, that's what I would consider more of a hear me out, right? Is it's one where I'm like, I can't really say this and generally consider like people to be fully normal with it. And there are definitely people that are like, that's not okay. But if you told me I'm down bad for Captain America, like, hear me out, Captain America, who the fuck isn't? The man's hot as shit. What the internet considers tame, most people I know would consider shocking. Hear me out, Mario. See, now that one's one that I'm definitely like, that's riding the line of, yeah, that's a hear me out, right? And I accept that. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, sure. That's not my cup of tea, but I get it, right? And it's stuff like that that I'm like, that's a hear me out. A hear me out is one that makes me kind of think for a moment and have to, like, consider something, right? Regardless of my opinion and response, right, of yes or no, there is a moment of thought that has to be made whether or not you can even respond to it. That is a good hear me out. Like, if you told me S-Death is your hear me out, I'm gonna go, bitch, who wasn't? Right? It's stuff like that where it's like, look, don't get me wrong, she was toxic as shit, but she was hot as hell. Well, she was actually pretty cool, but shut up. That's the point, right? Is it's like there's a level of... Like, if you told me one of, like, I don't know, Yuri from Doki Doki Literature Club, there's now an eyebrow raise, right? Not a bad hear me out. Not one that I think's extreme, but like, definitely one where I'm like, are you okay? Some hear me outs get me on a list. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, we all have hear me outs like that. Like, probably one of my more tamer hear me outs I've had in recent time. Let me find... I can't remember her name. But, like, this is probably one of my more tamer hear me outs. And I can't believe this is how I Googled to find her. You're gonna see the Google and you're gonna fucking get, chuckle. So this is like what I would consider a tame hear me out, right? Is this chick here. Yadhari, right? ZZ Tentacle Girl. But like, if I open up the image, right? Do you see what I mean by like, this is what I would consider a tame hear me out. a real hear me out would be the bangaboo. I agree with that, right? Like, that's exactly the case. Like, this is... I still think kinda comes onto the list of hear me out, but it's like very, very barely onto that list. I think it's probably most prevalent with that argument when it's a case of like, if you take away the tentacles, this is a very easy hear me, like a very easy yes for a lot of people for Smash, right? God damn it. No, Sid, no. But like, the moment you include the tentacles in this argument, it's like, okay, well that starts getting into like the hear me out category, right? A little bit. But if you told me like Bernice is your hear me out, I'm like, she's just a hot, mentally unstable individual. That's most people nowadays. I could even make an argument of most women. No, it's just most people. Like, who doesn't look at fire and go, yeah. I just want the wig and tentacles. Now that man got an idea. I'm not a fairy, but I mean, like, that's the same with that one guy from Zenless as well. I can't remember his name, but like the butler dude, very early on. That's like very much the most furry bait-coded character there is. And look, I'm gonna be honest, if you tell me hear me out on him, I'm gonna like, hear you out on what? Like, yeah. Like, dude, Smash! It's not hear me out, it's Smash! I'm not into baseball, but yeah. But like, that's that thing, and that's why I'm like, I agree that like, if your hear me out is something that's like not definitely making me have a moment of question in response to the statement, then like that's probably quite tame. And if it's tame, like your hear me out being tame, it's like, brother, concern. That's a valid red flag, because that means you're sheltered as shit. And like, if you're sheltered that much that you think it's like, oh no, I think Ren and Tight is like a hear me out. I'm like, motherfucker, what do you mean? If you told me fucking Alter Saber was a hear me out, I'd at least accept a little bit. If you told me Astolfo is a hear me out, I'm like, that's a little bit acceptable, depending on who you are, right? Schrodinger's hear me out, what are you hiding if it's that tame? Yeah. There's that aspect of it as well, right? Like, if you're presenting me with a character that's just hot, and you're telling me, like, hear me out, it's like, okay, there's one of two things happening. I don't know the character, and maybe their personality is extremely bad, and that's where the hear me out aspect of it comes from. Okay, there's a validity to that. Or, you're hiding a worse hear me out, or you're sheltered, right? Like, that's the other, like, main option. But, like, those two put together. It's you're hiding something. You're either hiding a hear me out, or you're hiding the fact that you're super sheltered and you haven't experienced anything in your life. Full powers Arbon? Wait, I need to look this up. Actually blanking. See, that's a hear me out. I would fully accept that as a hear me out argument. What the fuck is that, dude? Oh my god, that's amazing. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. It's Get Moe. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. They're all the chicks who swipe left on Twinder when in the bio someone admits to domestic abuse using others. That's... Dude, I mean, like, that's one of those things... I fully dislike the amount of times I see, like, a bit that's related to, like, oh, he cheated on me, but he got me this in response. It's like, you've now set a pay expectation. I can do this if I pay, right? I see that shit on, like, getting fed through, like, social media platforms. I'm like, this is not telling it. Like, I want to stress, by the way, I'm not against an open relationship. In fact, that's, I think, very healthy for people if they are comfortable with that. My problem is when it's not an open relationship, you're doing this, you're just making a paywall, and then you make it worse because now the other person has an understanding in their head, oh, well, this is okay then. It's like, then your relationship falls apart, and then you wonder why. Like, why? Yeah. This is why I say, like, I committed tax fraud, but I remember the government's birthday. Yeah, like, that's a wild one, eh? Like, that's actually what it feels like. I'm pretty sure if you told that to the fucking tax committee, that, like, when you're being brought up on charges, they'll look you dead in the eyes and go, you're going to fucking jail. They would even give you a chance to pay it off, not just send you. It's like, just get this man in his fucking uniform and get him out there. Like, I think you have a better chance in court saying I did it for the bit than just than that. It's like, sir, you committed several crimes, including tax evasion, murder. It's like, I did it for the bit, Your Honor. What the fuck's wrong with you? Not to start talking about current politics in some countries on TV. Yeah. Dude, I swear though, it's... The moment you input, like, a situation where it has a monetary response, you need to understand that's what you've done. Right? Like, if I do something bad, but then I pay for something good, and you say that equals it out, that's not saying I shouldn't do this again. That's telling the individual this is how much at least it will cost to circumvent that next time. Even if that's not truly the case. I will not roll on it, yeah. Oh, dude, Sin, you want to hear my fucking luck recently? I got up to max petty, trying to get Hyacinth, and I still, like, I didn't get her. 2 rolls in, after her banner goes away and I go for Cyrene finally. It's 2 rolls in and I get Cyrene, and I'm like, I am about to fucking fall apart. I still don't have Hyacinth, I have Cyrene. So now I have to roll for a fucking light cone. I don't give a shit she's, like, apparently Garbo. I fucking want her. I'm still mad that I didn't get Hyacinth, though, because I wanted, like, my little Amphorius team to sit there with Castorus, fucking Evernight, Hyacinth, and Cyrene. Not only a relationship, I say this with my aunt and her shitty son. He does heinous things, but he does tiny things. Yeah, it always makes me feel disgusted. Ouch. Yeah, I'm upset at that. So now holocure is going to be part of my fucking team eternally. I don't like there's a new cat competing with best cat. Oh, dude, I Dude, I still go very feral for Cypher. I don't know what it is, but my brain just, like, turns on a switch. I'm so glad she's in my, like, favorite team as well. Technically, she could go into my, most favorite character team, but I don't at the moment, I don't think. Because my most favorite character is Acheron, and then, like, after that, it's, like, the mix of, Feixiao, Cypher, Aventurine, and Robin, which, like, that's a team. That's a team right there. That's my follow-up team. But then I have, because Silverwolf got her update, Silverwolf is in the Acheron team at the moment. If you want some good source, just ask. Dude, I get sent shit all the time now. I'm not against the, like, stuff I get sent, but it's very funny waking up in the morning, getting, like, a couple of work things, a couple of friend things, and then just, like, straight up some hentai sent to me. I thought we were talking about ZZZ. No, sorry, no. I was talking about, Star Rail. I still have mixed feelings about dropping ZZZ, because, like, to explain to those that are wondering, typically speaking with games like that, I'll try and pick them up for, like, a week or two, and just to understand the game, see how it is, but I can't justify the amount of time spent to play them, right? Xenoblade Zone Zero was one that was a big one for me, where I picked it up for 2 weeks, I played it pretty consistently during those 2 weeks, and then I just have never touched it again. I'm still a little sad at that because that game looks amazing. I think they keep improving it really, really nicely. I think it's a really positive game. I just can't justify coming back to it. Let's see, I did drop the game ages ago, around when Trigger was first released. Yeah. Till they made a big update, okay. I think seeing 2 new mechanics, the grind broke me. I realized I have fun with the gacha when I'm satisfied and I'm never going to be up to date. I'm never going to have a good build. And that's the benefit I have with Star Rail, is that, again, Star Rail has the benefit of very low energy to commit, right? And since I have been basically playing it since release, pretty much non-stop. Like, I think I've missed a total of like a week or 2. Worth of game time. Like, that's pretty much it. For Star Rail. Like, I absolutely adore that game because of its low committal to time and resources, because I can just auto-farm a lot of things. Or if I'm like, then I have a very slow afternoon, I can go do some runs and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still fucking 2 story updates behind, which is like 20 fucking hours worth of content. And I really need to fucking catch up because, like, I've been heavily spoiled for a lot of the stuff at the moment. Mainly because it is the end of the arc. And I would like to know what's going on. So that's the length, and then I need the direction. Yes, that's right. Luckily enough, I can actually just yoink that from here. There we go. Reminds me if I go had a login streak counter, get hundreds streak near thousands, but then they had a 24-hour maintenance and broke the login for everyone and not fixed it. Months later they did it again. I quit playing. That's fair. Like, that's actually really upsetting. And that's part of the issue that pissed me off. It's like, you know, one of the times I struggled the most with Star Rail was when there was an update, and this was back when my internet was really garbage after moving here. It would take me 3 days to get the update done. So I was like really hating it at the time. Because I would be streaming around the time, so I would have to like pause it for stream, re-enable it after stream, and like hope and not basically do anything else with my internet. Made me realize, oh, they don't care. Yeah, it does feel like that. Hey, Flash, how's it going? I do dislike that feeling when, like, it does feel like there's a disconnect between the player and the game itself. And it just feels like you're not valued as an individual by the, like, not per se the developers, but, like, by the game itself, right? Like, the people that work on the game. I'm being very broad on that term because, again, I dislike that game developers tend to get a lot of the flack when, per se, they are just really passionate working on a project and they're trying their fucking best, and then some middle management aspect makes it bad. Again, very rarely will I blame developers on things, because most of the time it is nothing to do with them as to why a game has done something badly. Even when it's like a clear bug in the code, it's like there's room for oversight, there's not enough time given to them, there's all these sorts of things where it's like, no, I wouldn't call that a programmer's problem. I would call that the fact that they may not have been given the time, they may not have been given the QA time, stuff like that. Happens all the time. It's also why I dislike the, there's a sense, like, there's a personality of people, my brain broke, it do be like that. There's a section of people that have like this kind of mentality where, I think the term typically for them is armchair developers. I really dislike when you get armchair development energy, and I'm lucky I don't get that much with this, but I probably, in some ways, do deserve it, is that, like, they don't understand all of the things, that go into the game. Jen, I would put game developer as an umbrella term. It could be community management team. accidentally chatted in someone else's stream. Nice. But yeah, like, game developer is such an umbrella term that I agree that it's hard to distinguish that. That's why it's like, but yeah, there's community management team problems. In that case with Fate Go, that may actually be the case. Again, there's a reason why I just kind of generally term it as middle management, because like, upper management are trying to make money. They understand that there is a human aspect to an extent, but their goal is to make money. The developers themselves and stuff like that, they are trying to make a product that is enjoyable for whoever is involved, or does what is wanted by the user. Then there is the middle management that muddles those two around. They thin down a lot of the communication between a lot of these things. They'll funnel down basically the idea that, no, we only want to make money, and they'll funnel up the, like, this has worked for this. And it will be such a, again, I know there's a better term for it, but I'm used to the old term, like the Chinese whispers concept, where it's basically something gets said to someone, and then they reinterpret it, and then say it to another person, and then they reinterpret it, and then say it to another person. By the end, it gets to a point where it may no longer have anything close to the original meaning. That happens a lot in larger scale companies, and is why middle management is where a lot of these issues occur. It's somewhere in that ambiguous state is where a lot of these problems can start popping up, but again, it's no one per se is often to blame, it is just how this stuff occurs. So again, like, I don't like assigning blame with a lot of these things. Why I tend to respond with, shit happens. And not to diminish how much sometimes these things are bad, but to acknowledge that, like, it is sometimes an uncontrollable result of things that occur. It's like working at a brunch restaurant, and you might have a complaint with how, like, why is this thing raised in price, right? And you bring it up to your manager. They can't do shit, right? Like, they have no, like, big scale value in this grand scheme of things, of this giant working model. Now, theoretically, a branch manager does have some relevancy to this argument, but overall, they still have a much lower gauging on what they can, like, than what can be done to this situation than what you're probably wanting. Which means you have to go all the way up to the very top, and at that point in time, they're like, who the fuck are you? Go talk to one of the lower points on the scope if you've got that kind of complaint. And at that point in time, you're in this, like, catch-22 scenario where you're like, I'm getting told to take it higher, but the higher is telling me to take it lower, and then you've not got an actual result. Because nobody fucking knows where to go with this stuff, as well as this is a complaint they really don't kind of register as a problem. Yeah, I'm a little salty on some of this stuff, by the way. I will openly admit to it, purely because I've had to deal with that shit. Say what you want. I take the criticism as, on the chin. The not my job hot potato, yeah. It really do be like that. I believe the summon has a path internal? Yes. Every in 10-person companies that happens, yeah. So we're doing this on self. So we don't need this bracket point. We do need the summon core path, though. And then with this is the X. This is the Y. Then we don't need this part. We're just gonna trim. Oh no, you actually, I believe the summon core has a trim internal, right? Movement speed modifier. So summon core dot movement speed times summon core dot movement speed modifier. No, it's just movement modifier. Damn. I'm an idiot. Movement speed, movement modifier. Grid path. I assume is also something in summon core. Trigger system. Don't need that right now. Summon. Path grid. And then summon core dot. Oh, I just have a path update? Oh, me, I'm dumb as shit. Summon. There we go. And then I think the thing I'll need to do though is summon core dot target. Yeah. Equals X and Y. Why though? Funny joke. Anyway. Oh, good lord. Right. That feeling when you actually had pre-prepped a bunch of the, like, more complex architecture and you forgot. Because why would you make your life easier, right? Oh, you know one game I keep getting really tempted to get? and has only been because I kind of want to get an upgraded PC. It was Path of Exile 2. Make your life easier, couldn't be me, exactly. I actually really like Path of Exile 1, and I keep kind of being curious about Path of Exile 2. Had good reviews, but never played it. Yeah, it's just more like I wanted to play it, but my PC, I was like, it's like just on the verge of being acceptable playtime. Like playability, just because of the settings and stuff like that. So it was hard to justify buying it. It's definitely a game that, like, once the PC upgrade happens, I'll probably consider it a bit more. No, it definitely looks fun, though. Dude, there's so much I'm, like, waiting for just the PC upgrade at this point. Right? Like, one of these days. One of these days. How you deal with the GPU apocalypse? I mean, to be fair, that's actually the biggest problem we have to deal with, right? Is that if I was to calculate the entire cost of all the remaining parts together, it'd be like 2.3 grand New Zealand, again keeping that in mind. If I don't include getting a new GPU and just try and find something for layover, which is the intention at this moment, it goes down to about like $700-800. RAM prices are increasing too. Yeah, but I'm not getting too affected by that. Like, what I'm looking at is probably going to be about $300 with RAM. That's why, like, again, it's all about, like, trying to sort this out as soon as possible. Because I do want to try and beat the price spikes going too far up. Very, very close to being done, though. In terms of, like, amount of things needed, we're down to very few. The problem is, one of those things is insane price. And then the rest is, like, pretty normal. Because it's, like, storage, RAM, and GPU are the main three pieces remaining. I probably need to get a little bit more cooling like some more fans. I haven't looked. I actually should look whether or not the case I bought comes with more cooling, because I know some do come with built-in fans and they're not too bad. So I'll definitely have a squizzy at that at some point. I literally haven't opened a lot of the boxes yet, alright? Because they've just been sitting there the whole time. Seems the future, easy money is cooling system companies and repair for cyber farms? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, like, cyber currency or cryptocurrency isn't actually as big of a thing as people make it out to be. And it does take a massive... Like, the problem is, right, is how cryptocurrency works is that it's very much like the more you have of it, the more you can make of it, right? And that's kind of... It's just a rich get richer scenario, and most of us are too late to the party, right? That's... Chico owns the majority of air cooling system patterns, yeah. It do be that way. Again, it's one of those things, there's not really much I can do, right? Thinking on it too much is just gonna add dread to the scenario. Okay. Fads like crypto I skipped on because no one would give me a satisfactory answer of where is the money coming from. I mean, what is it? Crypto is, the tokens for it are basically theoretical energy spent on the calculator, thing, right? That's the idea of what cryptocurrency is. Cryptocurrency is, this thing has processed this equation, therefore it has made a return of this amount. The amount of energy spent on that scenario is basically stored as what the cryptocurrency value is, but that has gone up in value higher than the energy spent initially ratio. So the amount... Are those equations meaningful? Yes. If you equate it to a larger scale time frame, though, is the problem. The amount of energy and processing time spent... by comparison, versus value increases drastically higher over a 10-year period of time than the actual resources put into it. However, that is progressively being the problem, is that the value of amount of resources put into it is becoming lower and lower by comparison. So the more you put, like, basically, if you took something that mined this much cryptocurrency, theoretically, 10 years ago, and put it into now, it would make less cryptocurrency by also calculative response. Which is why, like, you have to keep expanding the farm, which makes it problematic, because then there's a point in time where the investment amount going into it is no longer valued at how much resources you have in your physical capital. So now you've spent more capital than you do gain at the rate necessary with the crypto. Is it renting my PC for university calculation crunching? That's a way to view it. That's one of the many things that it can calculate at, right? Is like, that's the idea, is that one of the things that's being done, like someone could put that into the stack, basically is the idea, is that it's attempting to calculate things that are normally not calculatable unless... Like, think of it like this, right? If I was to try and render a game, it can take me a couple of hours. Or I could offset parts of that to different systems, and it would take less time to calculate the total point, right? It would take less time for the final rendering product to be completed. That is the general idea of crypto. That is what your computer is doing, and then the tokens are payment for the energy and time spent on that. So basically the resources used in the process get banked up as the tokens. So it's, you are in the short term making a massive net loss because you are spending all of that energy, which is directly coming out of your power bill, to do it. Which is why we're, one of the biggest problems of crypto scams and currency problems is that they try and steal energy from other places or internet access from other places. That is the actual problem with a lot of those systems. Then that way they're no longer paying the short-term cost and they're reaping the benefits the long-term. Like, I believe if my current PC was set for 24 hours, I wouldn't even make a millionth of a token. Probably more than that. I'm probably giving it a little too low of a number. But that's kind of the general gist, right? And that's the idea. Which is why crypto's also not easy to consider worth investing into, because the investment cost is typically lower than the return. But the long-term benefits potentially are much higher. This is also under the assumption that these will continue to be valuable. That's the other thing. Crypto market could crash much easier than the stock market can. Because all of a sudden, again, the value that's elected to the token is value attributed to against the resources put into it. But, like, people could just elect to no longer consider it valuable and it would lose all value. This is technically the same case with money, but that's, like, physical money, but that's a much lower chance of occurring because it would be more damaging to do it. Crypto, there's a little less of a problem with if you just decided to no longer consider it valuable. Because there's overall not much that detriments from it in a general day-to-day setting. It has long-standing consequences if this occurred, but this is the case. The big problem for the consumer is that this tends to drive up prices of specific parts that should normally be pretty readily available. Again, a GPU does not cost anywhere near the price to make as it is sold for. This is typically the case with anything, right? But like, it's very much the case with like GPUs. Because GPUs are priced higher to compensate for the fact of demand for them. Right? That one affordable GPU that suddenly got a 10 times price hike. Yeah, it'd be like that. Hey Roger, how's it going? But so that's where a lot of that sort of comes in. I got fairly informed about it early on. I still didn't like it because exactly the argument I put forward, right, is that it takes very little little effort for the value of it to be diminished. I was wrong. I fully accept that, and as a learning opportunity. Right? Like, this is also an acknowledgement to be made. This is something me doing retrospectively. I considered it not a long-term viable investment opportunity. I was wrong. I fully acknowledge I was wrong, and I was given the opportunity to get crypto tokens back when I was younger. In fact, I could have probably gotten a lot of them very easily, and then I would have been an extremely rich individual. But I didn't, and that is a mistake that I made. It's what happens with any investment opportunity, is you need to value it against what is possible, right? You could have gotten one of the failed currencies, that as well, right? Like, that's an acknowledgement to be made, is that's kind of what happens to those failed currencies. There's a reason why specifically crypto, like the main crypto coin is so valuable and so successful, is because it's the main one, and they've done their best to try and, like, maintain its stability. Yeah, like, there's a level of you have to understand what you're looking at, and because it had been so new at the time I had a chance of investment to it, I was very much like, no. Right? And that's the point to be made, is it's like, regardless of my decision, that was the decision I made, and I still stand by that decision, right? Again, I didn't have the information available to me. It was a fairly low investment cost, admittedly, but that kind of wealth changes young people immensely when it's thrust on them. Yeah, I do agree with that as well. Everyone I knew that had inheritance back in, like, high school were fucking awful people. God, I fucking hated them. They were unbearable, and they didn't understand what they were dealing with. It's also why, and I mean this with, like, putting my hand up, I know this isn't the mentality of everyone that has this case, but please understand we're talking about specifically the negative grouping of those people, is those that are like, they get a job at their parents' company or something like that, or their family company. Like, I had someone at high school I knew that basically is like, oh, I already have a house that's set off aside for me, and I'm going to be working in my father's company. And I'm like, you have no value of, like, effort. You don't have to do the day-to-day grind. At this time, keep in mind, I was working at high school. Like, I was working to pay my fucking life. Right? Like, that fucking pissed me off something fierce, and this person was incredibly unbearable because when presented with someone having hard times, they would not understand that that's actually more likely the norm, and they would present this thing of, why didn't you do better? Like, they're the person, and it's like, you just need to try harder, and it's like, you've never had to try in your fucking life. Got rich, one's dad came into selling and into the military. Other his rich uncle died. He's made became a massive dick. Guy who red uncle died was taught ethics and values by the man and his parents. So when he got it, wasn't an a-hole. Yeah, like that's the important stuff. Got hired through skills and a tasteful amount of nepotism. Yeah. No, it's something that really got to me a lot. And like again, this is the thing. I feel, as I am now, the way I am with money is probably going to stay the way I am with money for the rest of my life, right? Which is, I find the bare minimum way to feel comfortable and live. Like, this is the thing, right? It's like, it's that idea of, if you won lottery, what would you do? Now, admittedly, technically speaking, you can never truly understand what you would be like in that given context without that experience of occurring. So I've never been given $1 million to myself that I could do whatever I wanted with. But I know what I would be like. It would be immediately find ways to make more money off of that, invest it, put it in saving scenarios, all that sort of stuff, because I wouldn't want to care anymore. I would love the opportunity to live purely off my own resources. I know my first priorities would be to finish building the PC, to pay off all of my current student debt and stuff like that, these sorts of things. Be completely beyond all of those problems, and then I would try and basically find ways to generate a passive enough income that I could survive off of. I agree, I am an a-hole here. To be fair, nepotism feels like the requirement to get a foot in anywhere at this point. Literally spent a whole 1.5 years trying to get hired before I came down to getting at their company. Yeah. Land to a corporation his family had brought from neighbors with their own spare land. Damn. Into a Japanese crypto. Like acres sell well. Yes, they do. You're a guy whose parents paid for his university decided instead of going to said university to use the money to go after to another country for vacation for an entire year. He said he was at university for literally 3 days before taking the money and running. That's fucking disgusting. See, now that's something I dislike even more, right? So, not to go too far into a hole that I probably should avoid a little bit, but I made it very clear that I'm not very connected to my family, right? I discussed recently, because it's technically relevant, what would happen if I got inheritance? If, again, that's a big thing, right? I don't have a guarantee of inheritance. If I was to get in my inheritance, what would I do with it, right? And the loose promise I was forced to make verbally with my parent was that I would not just be, like, I would have to spend some of it on non-boring things. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, the amount that I know, roughly speaking, I would have probably get from said inheritance, it is straight up doing exactly what I just said with, like, the lotto win, right? Is it would go to paying off bills, and it would go to try and generating a passive income. I would prefer to set myself up long-term than have, like, a trip overseas. Like, I'll be perfectly honest, if you told me the person took the money from the university thing, used it to reinvest, and made more money because of that, and all that sort of stuff, because I've heard those stories as well, right? I've heard the story Devil's told, and I've heard the story that I'm telling now, of, like, someone basically taking the money that was promised to them for university, they used it to, like, they got a job, they reinvested the money, they got enough capital to pay that money back, and still have shitloads of money to themselves. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, you told me that, I'm like, fucking nice job. That's still technically stealing that money and not using it for what was told, but it's doing it for better reasons. Because that's the idea of, if you're going to university, the idea is you're spending that money as an investment cost to, like, long-term benefit. So if you just decided not to go to university because that wasn't your fucking, like, that's not your shtick, and you did that instead, I think that's a very reasonable response. To spend it on a fucking vacation for a year, though. Yikes. So yeah, no, I fully know what I would do with $1 million. I mean, fuck, like, I think I've made it fairly obvious as well in, like, modern and recent times with the money that I've gotten from, stream and stuff like that, is the vast majority of it's gone to PC parts. Like, don't get me wrong, some of it has definitely gone to Magic the Gathering, but, like, never an unreasonable amount. The vast majority of it goes immediately to PC parts or paying off bills so I can pay for PC parts sooner. I do as I said. What kind of people apply for Broad Universities over here since the program is government funded? Yeah, I can fucking understand. I know that immediately because I know a few people like that here in New Zealand because we also have similar stuff. Use his tuition for 2 years to go to the Bahamas? Fuck me, what? Leaving college, 0 loan, 0 debt in like 7 months, so that will be nice. That sounds amazing. And they ruin it for the rest of us, yeah. No, that's the thing that pisses me off the most about those situations is, so in New Zealand, we have a thing when you're studying where you get a grand, grant per year, while studying. That's supposed to be, so it's added to your loan, and it's supposed to be used for, like, study or study-related. I have gotten that grant fully every single year I could. And I can tell you now, do you know what the most unrelated to study that money was used on has ever been? Buying my bed. Because I didn't have one at the time. That was last year. Right? Last year, I was still technically studying at the very beginning of the year. And I spent the money I got from my grant partly on buying a bed. That is the most I've ever gone. I've bought clothing. That was technically, clothing I used to go to the university. I've used it to buy all my study materials. I did buy some PC parts with one time because it was relevant. All sorts. Let's see. Yuki is going into an investment account, but currently it's kind of leaking in my main one just to keep me floating above water. Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. While we're studying, he was lounging on a beach. That's fixed. On his friend base, one of his friend's parents noticed because he left his computer on and told the other guy's parents. So they contacted the loan office and cancelled his funds. Hell fucking yes. Like, I'm gonna be perfectly honest, if you're lying for that money like that, yeah, no, that's what you deserve. Fuck, imagine if I took out a grand loan from the government to buy Magic. Now that would be amazing. I'll do that next time I study. I mean, no, that's a joke. For legal reasons, that's a joke. I mean, one of the things I disliked here in New Zealand that they tried to offer was, they offered the first year of university free of fees if you don't fail. Like, if you don't fail too many, you pass each semester and all that sort of stuff, you get your first year free. But obviously this couldn't be used by anyone that had already been studying at university level. And I'm like, this only affects pre-graduate, right? So this is like bachelors and stuff like that. That is not the people you need to be targeting for like reducing costs. Alright. I'll say lurking though, I don't know if that's good or bad. Good night. Catch you later, Jen. Have a good sleep. And also catch you later, Devil, yeah. Have a nice toast. Fuck you. Me and Shin had to sell things to get back to the States he brought on vacation. Good. I'm gonna be honest, I'm only like bitter towards people like that, because it's just like, what did you expect? Like, there are consequences for your actions. You've gotta accept that. Let's see. You're right, yeah. Told you about my experience of all that. Feel free to share if you remember how bad it was when I studied. Oh, I mean, for you, if I recall correctly, Sin, it was like, one of the major problems of your experience was the fact that, like, something got, let's see if I can recall correctly. Like, your data got corrupted, so you weren't able, and, like, you just didn't succeed in a semester, and you basically got treated like shit for that. That was one of the main things I remember for it. Because it was like 70% of the way through the duration of time you were even able to use on it, and it got corrupted, and then it got corrupted again or something. Yeah, and in general, they treated you like shit. It was very upsetting to hear. I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, that's not an overly typical experience that you had, if I recall, but it sadly enough is more common than it should be. It's a lot better now, but nonetheless, like, I mean, I've told you before what my debt looks like, and I haven't really mentioned it too much on stream because it's not really something I feel like, should be shared because, corrupted the day it was handed in through no fault of your own. Yeah, it's like, the thing is, again, that's not your fault, but that's still something that the university should accommodate a little bit. It's very clear case where, like, that should be allowed for, some special, like, not special treatment, but, like, extraneous circumstances. But no, I've got a lot of debt that I need to get through eventually with my study. Because, like, for those that might not understand, here in New Zealand, we have basically an allocated amount of weeks where you're allowed to, claim, payment for your study. Right? So I could still get the direct fees of a university paid for. and I can technically get a weekly income for studying. But, unlike before, that weekly income comes straight out of my loan. So, what was happening was my weekly, like, amount given to me was, like, is just accumulated as debt. And that was doing too much damage to my psyche. I was in a very bad place, and a lot of reasons, and it's basically why I had to stop midway through the degree that I've currently just left on hold. Because I was spending thousands of dollars per month, basically. To just be able to, like, do, study. And it was just, it wasn't good. It got very, very bad. And it's why I'm in a lot of student debt. Luckily enough, you know, New Zealand has a thing where while I'm living in New Zealand, I don't have to pay interest. So the amount is stagnant for the most part, but it's still has to be paid eventually. It also, like, directly comes out of my income, if I get any, as tax, because that's how our system works. Is that it is considered, tax when you would, have a lot of that. And I can be perfectly honest with you, unless I get an obscenely high-paying job, even at, like, middle income, I'm not seeing that paid off for the rest of my life. I need something more extreme, like, large-scale to happen for that to change. At least when I die, that debt disappears. That's something. Paid off my first student loans. That's good. Like, again, it's one of those things that is something to be celebrated, right? This is the last month of that. I'll enjoy cramming those dollars in their pockets. Hell yeah. Make sure that, like, once you've done that, you go out for, like, a nice dinner or something to treat yourself. So my immediate thought on it. Like, you need to reward yourself after something like that. I got a job when I did, just before COVID shut down, and I was considered an essential worker. Yeah. But I've added more. Nah, yeah. like, it's one of those things where I want to stress, it will always sound, it's impossible to sound not bitter when people pay off things, just because it's like, I'm very far from it, right? But, like, goddamn, I'm just looking at it never happening, is the realistic case for me. And it makes me sad, but, like, I'm glad other people are able to get out of that situation. Might go to the fancy restaurant in town? Hell yeah. No entrees and $35 plates. Fuck me, Jesus. The calls to me before the debt was due by 2 months pissed me off. Yeah. Well, the first payment, not late payment. Yeah, no, I hate that shit as well. I've had to deal with something similar before. Where it's like, we're hounding you for this. It's like, you literally can't. It was really nasty in comparison to the guy. Yeah. Oh, that's the worst part as well, is like you get that one person that's just fucking foul, and then you like deal with someone else from the same place, and they're like, oh, this is fine, you're all good. It's like, well, that's a jarring experience. Like, the fuck? And squared away payment plan. Nice. Didn't realize my deal wasn't due. She thought I was 2 months late. Oh. Okay, that's one of those ones where I'm like, I give a little forgiveness to her, but also like, fuck, how dare. Such a heavy topic for such like light music too. The fuck. True, yeah. Dude, it's like, it's literally death and taxes discussion. Fucking people in the background just jiving the fuck out. Well, it do be like that at the end of the day. Just a sec. That's what I expected. Alright. I don't know what else I really want to work on right now for this, because like a lot of this is just going to get really finicky. And I do need to get some art assets going for some of this too, is the problem as well. Because I think I need to make, like, another function here. Struct and self-reference. Oh. So I'll basically have that as the idea. So I'm going to run on the step event, basically a check if it's pathing. Or like if it's not pathing to set a path. And we'll just repeat that. And that's fine. Instead of having set instances of it constantly having to check. Whereas like, the difference is, so this is a summon that's going to have to be like able to constantly move around and adjust and very minor stuff. Unlike Neuro, which is like actively... we have set hard timers for Neuro because that makes sense for what we're doing with her, right? Is the idea. Oh, that's right, I needed just another quick thing on my phone. Where's my alarms? There we go. I need to make sure I set an alarm for tonight. Yeah, I might actually finish up here for today. We're nearly at the 4-hour marker, so I'm feeling a little bit okay with that. Also just feeling generally quite tired and a little bit peckish, so I'm kind of wanting something to eat. So... let's see, what was the craziest thing that happened to me, at my university? We can go through that story as a finish off that point. What is the craziest thing? It's a lot of weird shit that happened. We had someone smuggle gators and weapons and both got loose. That's kind of fucking wild. I mean, one of the most memorable ones that was, like, right in front of me and not, like, an event that happened at the place, but just was for me, was I was staying up really fucking late overnight at the library on campus. I think this was nearly midnight. And I came outside and they were doing a festival, like a fire festival, where, like, there was a lot of fire dancers and shit like that. So, and like, I walk out the fucking, so I'm walking out the library for a breath of fresh air, and there's all this shit happening. I walk by, and then, like, someone throws some beer into my hand, and I'm like, alright. It turns out you're allowed to have drinks while you're there. And stuff like that, like, for that event. But it was just, like, really out of fucking nowhere. I went out and just, like, there's people doing, like, this big festival shit outside. There was a time where someone took one of the professor's cars, dismantled it fully, took it up to the roof of a building, and reassembled it. On top of the building. That happened while I was there. They had to airlift it off. It was very funny. Before I was there, there was an area that's now no longer public parking, and this is why. Which is someone drove their dad's van at the back of an area near the pond, and they'd left the handbrake on, so it slid backwards and landed in the pond, and it was basically the very back of the van was on the ground, and the whole thing was the nose sticking out of the water. So yeah, that area became no longer public accessible. So that's how you do the car on the roof trick? Yeah, pretty much. That was wild that they managed to fully assemble it up there. That was funny. In personal experiences, I can't tell that one. That one's a bit much. Yeah, no, overall I have a few fun, wacky stories from my times at uni. Would do pranks, someone had ordered and paid for like $500 in pizzas and had them delivered to all the classes. We had something similar happen one time. Can't remember fully the story, but like someone had definitely ordered an obscene amount. Oh, that's right, it was an events team problem, because this was when I was working with them. Where, like, we had over-ordered by accident. We'd paid, so we couldn't do shit about it. But, like, it just resulted in, like, an obscene amount of pizza and snacks and stuff turning up to the university, so we had to try and, like... Because this is the reason I remember, is I had to go around and, like, basically go to classes and go, hey, you guys want a fucking pizza? The vending machine products with Hot Pockets, that's fucking what? Yeah, that's a bit of a wild one for me. I like that. There was a festival I went to where what we did was, while the music was playing on the stage, we'd get like colored like things full of color, like physical paint, like powdered paint, sorry. And you'd toss that in the air. And the idea is you brought a shirt that you're, like, willing to see get painted random colors and shit like that. It was a really fun festival thing. That was one of the earliest things I did when I went to that uni. And this was, like, over by the riverbank. It was great. I don't own the shirt anymore, but, like, it was... That shirt got painted something fierce. It was pretty. I liked it. I was, they had up the student caf and had robots programmed to talk like Wall-E and the roving around. That's amazing. I mean, there's a couple of stories I would just prefer not to, because it either pins down my university a little too much and presents it in a poor light, or it's information I have that I shouldn't have, or information I should have but I can't publicly talk about. No sure, say, yeah, well, we were talking about like 6 years ago now, right? And that shirt was already, like, fucked up before, because that was the point I wore that shirt for. And it was, the special edition Far Cry 3 shirt, ironically. I'm not even kidding. It was the, like, you bought the special edition of Far Cry 3. That was that shirt. It was white and everything. So it was great for it. But yeah, that shirt was definitely on the way out already. Yeah, I think that's about the limit of some of the stuff I can talk about. I did do things that I shouldn't have probably done at my university, though. I did do that a couple of times. That's, again, me putting, like, finger to nose, like, you're not gonna find that out, though. Brank was swapping the uni store's goods with Best Pro equipment. That was wild. That sounds amazing. What? That's actually really funny. I like. It's those pranks I kind of love. As long as it's done with good faith, I feel like you should be able to get away with some of those. We didn't have too many pranks at our uni. In the end, though, I have to say. Took a few days to find the stuff. Yeah, see, that's why I say, like, that's the good faith argument, right? Is like, well, they may have put it in a okay location, people not knowing where it is. Like, that's a panic, because that can be considered theft. The Dean laid out at the beginning of the senior prank week. They were good. Yeah, see, that's... I feel like that's kind of that point, right? That's acceptable. I think most of us at uni were, like, too busy being just exhausted and tired and, like, working and shit, that none of us could actually, like, afford the time and energy to do funny pranks. It was a little somber on our campus. But yeah, no, I think, like I said, though, I think I'm gonna finish up here for today, because I am definitely feeling on the side that is, I should probably take a break and rest. Got a good bit of work done, not as much as, like, the last few times, but fuck me, we have massively pushed forward in this game. I got a lot of work done yesterday, so... Science gonna do a lot of here. Yeah, they would. That sounds about right. So yeah, with that being the case, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. You're awesome. Stay awesome. And I hope to see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye. End screen. You got it. There we go.